Well, hello, 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 hello out there. How's everybody doing? It's everybody's favorite conservatives in New York. Christopher Brandon Straka. I had to make sure I did plural this time, not singular.
All right.
Yeah, good friend and fellow patriot. We go back here in this conservative movement. So I want to go ahead and just go and introduce him to you and let him kind of give you guys a little background of who he is and all that good stuff.
Am I talking?
Yes, go ahead,
I'm
Brandon.
sorry. Hey, everybody. I'm Brandon Strock. Some of you may know me as the founder of the WalkAway campaign, the movement of people walking away from the Democrat Party, which is actually how Chris and I met. Hey, Chris, every once in a while, I'm going to check in with you and ask how my signal is, because I know I don't have a very strong signal. Am I doing okay?
Yeah, you're fine. I mean, you're breaking up a little bit, but there's this new digital war we're living in, so I guess we'll deal with it as long as we can hear you clearly.
Hopefully, very temporary world we're living.
That's the key word.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's me, Brandon Strock. I left the Democrats in 2017, and we actually just had our 2-year anniversary for WalkAway, which was on Tuesday, 2 days ago. And so for 2 years now, we've had this movement called #WalkAway of people leaving the Democratic Party and making testimonials, telling stories. And that's how we met, Chris, because you made a WalkAway video.
Yes, definitely. And I mean, it was an amazing situation. Quick shout out to my friend of mine, Quan Lene Green. What the whole situation, how it all came about was pretty interesting. It started off where I was on Facebook after Trump got elected. I was just going on different rants, and a lot of my friends and family cut me off already at that point. And she just came to me one day, see me going on one of my rants, and she was like, "Why don't you start making videos?" And I'm like, I only like taking pictures. Like, what do you mean make videos?" She's like, "Just do me a favor. Like, ride the bus on the way home from work tomorrow. New York public transportation is big here. And whatever you hear on the bus, just kind of walk home on the way home. Just tell me about your day, and then I'll tell you how you did." So I got on the bus. I, saw like two young ladies getting an argument over the phone. One girl had a baby with her, and baby was starting to cuss and everything. So they got the bus and ready to go fight this girl. So I ended up just doing a quick video talking about that situation, and I just sent it to her specifically. And when I sent it to her, she came back and said, "Oh my gosh, I really liked your video. It was funny. It was entertaining. It was, very, just give me a lot of, props." And I was like, "No, seriously, are you serious?" She's like, "Yeah." So I was like, "All right, so maybe I'll start doing videos." And the very next day, I saw Brandon Strock. He had his WalkAway initial campaign video of just telling his WalkAway story. And at the end of the video, he said, "If you have a story to tell, feel free to send it over to me, and I'll share it online on social media." So that's what I did. I went and did a WalkAway story testimonial, sent it to Brandon. He shared it on his Facebook, and it kind of went viral. And after that, everything kind of steamrolled from there. But I just appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to get my voice heard.
It did go viral, and I actually remember the first time I ever saw that video specifically because you were one of the first. I mean, I think you did it certainly within the first like 3 weeks that I started WalkAway. And I was over at a friend's house. It was me and 2 or 3 friends, and they were like, this WalkAway thing is really awesome. Like, it's really taking off. And so we went on the page and we were just kind of flipping through the people who'd started making videos, and yours had just come out. And so we were watching it together and we were like, "Oh, this is so good." And like, it was cool. It was really exciting.
Nah, I'm like I said, I was amazed by how much popularity it caught when I sent it to you. And you're the one who's kind of started my whole format on my channel because I do walk and talks. So that's like the videos I do where I walk through the city and I talk different political issues going on. So you kind of gave me my format as well. So I always said to myself, I said I'm always going to stick with Brandon. Doesn't matter in the future. Any chance I can get help him get his voice heard or help him get the WalkAway campaign movement going. I'm there. I got his back.
Thanks, Chris. And you should actually probably split some of your monetization with me, since it sounds like I was very.
We're talking business, hey? You mentioned it.
I think I deserve a cut of that monetization. We can talk about that offline.
When I blow up, and it's going to be, I'll make sure you get half.
Thank you.
All right, Brandon. So let me go ahead and get started with our interview. The first question I want to ask is it's kind of a hot topic that's going on right now in the country. Everybody's talking about it, of course. It's this whole situation with the George Floyd situation. I don't know if you heard about what happened in Minneapolis with George.
Of course. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Couldn't miss it.
Yeah,
Terrible.
yeah, very terrible, very terrible. But I want to kind of get your opinion on that whole situation and the circumstances that occurred, and who do you feel was in the right and who in the wrong with the situation?
To me, it's pretty indisputable that he was murdered.
Mm.
I think he was very wrongfully killed by the police. Here's the thing, you know, it's not. Okay, I guess I want to be careful when I say this, but the job of the police is, of course, to protect and serve. But part of that protection in that service that they provide to all of us is to apprehend criminals and to make sure that criminals get their day in court and are prosecuted by either a judge or a jury. And that judge or jury has the job of deciding what the fate is of that criminal and what their punishment should be. It is never the job of a police officer to take the life of another human being unless it's an absolute last resort and self-defense, or to prevent them from harming somebody else. And that was absolutely not the case in this situation. I mean, we saw this man, he wasn't resisting arrest, he wasn't struggling, he was completely and thoroughly inhibited, really, from being able to move by several police officers. And then he had one officer with his knee in his neck. And he was saying for several minutes, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe." And, I'm not going to pretend like I know the whole backstory and like I was there, but I can tell you, anybody with any common sense who saw that video can see there was no threat. In fact, I don't even understand why they didn't stand him up at a certain point. He was clearly detained. It looked like he was clearly cuffed, and he wasn't resisting, like, to stand the guy up, put him against the car, put him inside the car, whatever you have to do. Why? And there was a crowd of people around in the video saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?" I mean, he was killed. He was murdered.
Yeah, I got to admit, I agree with you on that. I mean, there were situations prior to this, like, the Ahmed Aubrey situation, stuff like that, where I said, okay, let me kind of see more evidence, let me see more information coming out. And as more video evidence came out, I kind of said, yeah, I don't think it was just a murder when it came to that situation. But with this one with George Floyd, I just immediately, as soon as I saw the initial video, I said, okay, why do you have to have your knee on the back of somebody's neck when they're handcuffed and obviously subdued? There's no, he's not a threat.
No.
Even if he was initially a threat, we didn't see the video footage, the whole video yet, but even if he was being a threat initially, once somebody's handcuffed, well, there's only so much they can do at that point. And, when you had bystanders watching and telling them to get the foot off the guy's neck, and he's, begging pretty much, he's saying he can't breathe. I just didn't understand why they couldn't just stand him up or they just move, continue on with their police work. I think it was mishandling by the police. I don't see, there's no excuse, in my opinion, for how they handled the situation.
Totally. And, with any position of power comes a great amount of responsibility. And if you are law enforcement, you have all the power, really. And you must exercise the utmost responsibility in that situation, which means, striking a police officer, assaulting a police officer, those are all crimes. And so if he were, and I don't think there's any video evidence of this whatsoever, but I'm saying if he were struggling, resisting, even assaulting a police officer, okay, he can be charged with that crime. But a police officer does not have the right to kill somebody just because they have the power. Their job is to exercise restraint, self-control, responsibility, and only as an absolute last resort, injure, harm, or, shoot, do something to subdue somebody. Absolute last resort, take somebody's life. But that is not what happened here. This was just an absolute, I think, gross lack of self-control, and I think an abuse of that power, an abuse of the trust that we're supposed to have in the authorities. And so I think that this is an excellent time for conservatives to come together and stand up and be a voice, because far too often we on the conservative side get accused of being racist, being a part of the problem, not acknowledging when racism or police brutality exist. We spend so much time arguing that the left manipulates those very things and exaggerates them and plays the race card. But then there are instances like this one that are so black and white, and we really should be speaking up at this point. I'm doing that, and I'm proud to see a lot of conservatives on social media speaking out and acknowledging that this is wrong. What happened is wrong, and it was murder, and it was wrong.
No, you're absolutely right, Brandon. And you make a good point about conservatives and how we need to, like in situations like this, come together and let the public know that we're not going to just automatically side with the police. Nothing wrong with the police. God bless our police officers out there. Thank you for your service. But when there's, like I said, it's not a black versus white thing. It's a right versus a wrong thing. And if something is wrong, I don't care if you're conservative, Democrat, independent, communist, whatever, you just shouldn't be on the side of something that's wrong. And, we should be united. So the United States of America, we should be united with situations like this. And that's why I made sure came out and got my voice heard, because I had spoken to Ahmed Aubrey's situation when it happened. And I even did a follow-up video when there's more video evidence coming out to kind of give more specifics of how I felt. But when this situation came, I didn't want to say, okay, this is not, I don't want people to think I'm following some kind of narrative and this is not fitting my narrative, so I'm not going to speak on it. I spoke on this as soon as this happened. And I said, no, the officer, in my opinion, was wrong in this situation. So I just want to let people know, like, hey, I'm a black conservative, but I'm not, cowering down to some kind of, power establishment figure. I speak for myself, and I just said, I'm here for, I'm a Christian before anything. So what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong in the Lord's eyes, and I feel that this was wrong. So I made my stance very clear.
I love the way that you just articulated that, because it's true. It's not a black or white thing. It's a right or wrong thing. And I love that. I think that that's a very powerful way to state the situation, because, this is an opportunity for all of us, left or right, black or white, whatever side we may find ourselves on, or whatever group we may find ourselves on. I think it's an opportunity to come together and acknowledge that this is not left or right or political or black, white. It's a matter of right or wrong. And that right and wrong should never have political lines or racial lines. And I love the way that you phrase that. I think that's really powerful.
Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just ask you one more thing about this situation. How do you feel about what's going on? What you see the riots they're having in Minneapolis? I mean, they have been going to the Target stores, Home Depots, and just raiding and like ransacking and looting places. And, it has, been like fires there. They're like pretty much looks like they're torching the city almost. It's just so hectic. It looks like going on there. What's your stance when it comes to how the rioters are handling the situation?
Well, I mean, I definitely, I guess let me start off by saying that I think that rioting is not good. I think it's not productive. I don't support it. I 100% condemn looting. That's disgusting and absurd. But I do want to say that I think there's also an opportunity here for all people, and maybe even specifically conservatives, to try to exercise a little compassion, I think, and understanding. That's what I've been trying to do, because I look at this situation and it's very easy to, see a group of people smashing windows and starting fires and say, these people are animals, these people are animals. But I don't believe there's any such thing as a group of people who are animals. I think we have to look at the psychology and the pathology behind the behavior and ask ourselves, why is this happening? And I think that whether right or wrong, we have to acknowledge that people are behaving this way because there is an enormity, I think, of emotional outrage that's happening right there. And so then the question becomes why? And then to me, I'm looking at this, and when I see this rioting, I feel less anger and hostility towards the people rioting than I do towards the leftist media that has for generations been telling these groups of people, reinforcing this narrative that they are in danger of being killed constantly by the world around them. It is that type of thinking and that type of mentality. And then to have that thinking and mentality reinforced by a story like this, you know, which is rare. This is not the rule. This is the exception. You know, most Black people in this country are not being murdered by police and are not in danger of being murdered by police. But in very rare circumstances, it does happen. And those circumstances are exploited and used and squeezed to the utmost ability that the media can get out of them, and then told again and again and again and again, and then generationally told and told and told until eventually you've got a group of people who've been hearing constantly that they're like rats in a cage in a system where they're not safe and they're in danger and they're oppressed and they're victimized. And it's so, I mean, of course, it's a powder keg that's going to explode at some point. And so while I'm not excusing the rioters, and I am definitely not excusing the looters, I understand it. I understand why they're reacting the way they're reacting. And I place an enormous amount of the blame squarely on the media that has planted those thoughts in their heads for years and years and years and years.
Wow, that's very, very powerful statement there, Brandon. That's a good point as well, because I did a video right before we did our doing our live. I went on Facebook and did a quick live on the whole George Floyd situation. And one of the things I said was the biggest problem I'm having with the whole situation is how the media is handling it. Because there was an individual here, and I couldn't get the details of information. I remember when the article happened locally, March 4th, of an unarmed white man getting killed by a Black officer. And it hit the local news for like 2 or 3 days. It was, I can remember seeing it, and I didn't, speak on it or anything like that. But then when this situation happened, I saw how the media blew it up. So I went to go find the news article so I can say, hey, look, it's happened. It happened. This is not just a Black thing. This has happened to other people, other races as well. But I couldn't even find it anymore because George Floyd situation, like in Ahmaud Arbery, flooded all the internet, and the media just put that all the way out there and just swept the whole situation with the unarmed white male under the rug. And I said, see, this is the problem. Like, you guys were genuinely about American people and American values. You guys will report every story with the same and equal amount of attention. But you don't. When there's a situation where there's a Black unarmed gentleman or a Black getting killed by a police officer, especially around election season, oh my goodness, it's everywhere. It's every way you look, billboards, signs, commercials, news, everywhere. But the same situation when it happens to a white man around the same period of time, you guys talk about it for 2 or 3 days, sweeping on the rug. And like you did, there's also another situation I mentioned was the Black gentleman in a nursing home who was beating up on elderly patients because you look at his social media afterwards, it's because you see racist remarks on his social media. So he was obviously racist towards white people, and he was beating up elderly people because of that. He was even beating up a World War II veteran that was there. And the media spoke about it for a couple of days, and then he quickly swept it under the rug as they could. And and I'm like, this is the problem. If you guys were genuinely caring for the people out here, you would report on all these stories, and then when we have our issues, we could come together united as Americans and see how we can best resolve this. But you guys don't want us to be united. You want us to be divided so you can control us. So that's why I feel they do these stories, these media stories the way they do. It's to cause they're more focused on division. And of course, Orange Man bad or whatever, as well on top of that, if they can. But that's where their focus is. It's not about educating the public. It's about controlling the public.
Right. And the example that you just used is perfect because, there have been, I think, several videos that have circulated recently, which were one I just saw yesterday or the day before, was a compilation of video footage of white elderly people being abused horribly in nursing homes, and all of the assailants in each of the examples happen to be a black nurse or, you know, orderly or something. And I thought to myself, you know, the media would never say we have a problem in this country with black people attacking the white elderly people. You know what I mean? They would never present the story that way. They would probably just say, look at these horrible examples of elderly people being abused in a nursing home. But that's because white people are the majority in this country and black people are a minority in this country. It's not a very sexy story that way. Or I mean, it's not politically correct to take a story that way and say, look at this problem we have with black people beating elderly white people. And this is a systemic problem in this country. But they can do that with black people being assaulted by police officers because black people are the minority. And that makes for a much more compelling story and narrative for them. And it allows them, as you said, to help control the thinking and the behavior of minority populations in this country.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. And, you know, what I also want to speak with you about too, as well, since I had, you know, because this topic is very, very important. And, you know, the media is, you know, it's something where when I talk to my friends and conservatives about the situation, I always say, you know, the alternative news, this is why alternative news is so important, because when a story like this happens, you know, you're seeing people coming out and they're speaking. I mean, David Harris Jr., shout out to David Harris Jr., fantastic coverage he's been doing on this situation, where, you know, he's playing both sides of the field and saying, hey, you know, this occurred and this is my stance, and I'm not going to automatically just follow a narrative, because that's what the media, to me, the mainstream media, that's what they're all about. Because if you look at even like the situation with Ahmaud Arbery, when the headline and the news happened, as soon as I saw the headline news, CNN took that story and they ran to put the video out there, and they said the story was the way they worded it was unarmed black jogger murdered by like two white men in Georgia, or racist white men or something like that. And they made sure to put the skin colors in there, and they made sure to make it clear this one guy's innocent, totally innocent, and these evil white men got him. And of course I got people up in an uproar immediately just from that story and that video alone. It got people in an uproar. And I'm like, my issue was this. I'm like, if you want to report on it, there's nothing wrong with that, but report on it like it was if the roles were reversed. Because if the roles were reversed and it was two black men, you know, coming after a black man and killing him, they would just say two assailants kill innocent jogger or something like that, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
And people will then read the story and go from there. But they worded it in a way so they said they probably assumed that people wouldn't even read the entire article. They just see that headline, see the video, and be ready to go out and riot and loot and everything else. And this, you know, and that gets nowhere at the end of the day, rioting and looting. There's a difference. You know, a woman that's earlier on this post while we were talking, Melody Cruz, she mentioned there's difference between protesting and rioting. And I absolutely agree with that. I have no issues at all with protesting, but I do have an issue with rioting. But you made a good point earlier, and where the rioting came from is from how the media has handled this entire situation. And we need to focus on the mainstream media in order to stop this pretty much this racial baiting pandemic they have going on, to get people up in uproar just for votes and just for, you know, like a power situation. It's physically overpowered people. It's foolish.
Well, yeah, and just to be clear, just in case anybody misunderstood or misconstrued my point, I'm not letting the rioters off the hook, and I'm certainly not letting the looters off the hook. These are grown people who are responsible for their own choices, and the choices that they're making are wrong. What I'm saying is that I'm able to, I guess, exercise a little compassion here and understand that the root cause of them making this bad choice is the rage that they feel. And that rage is boiling underneath because of the constant messaging that they're receiving from the media, that their lives are in danger, that their existence is in danger. And, you know, it's a scary message to get as a minority in this country. I mean, if you're a member of a group that's, you know, 13% of the total population, and you keep hearing that the majority, which is nearly 70%, wants you dead, of course you're going to live in fear, and that fear is going to continuously be present itself in, you know, anger, hostility, rage, resentment, as the news keeps telling you, here's another example, here's another example, here's another example of how your very life and existence is in danger. Of course, eventually that is going to boil over and rage. And that's what we're seeing now. Doesn't make it okay. Doesn't justify what they're doing. I'm just saying I understand it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I see what you're saying, and I hope people understand what Brandon is pointing he was making there, because I totally agree with that. When I was, when I was younger, and I used to be, like I said, I was a WalkAway member myself. I was a former Democrat, and when I was a Democrat and growing up in Maryland, and a very blue state, just as blue as New York, it's not more blue. I really felt like the Republican Party was out to get me, and like if you were a white person and you were a Republican, that you were just a racist and you were a bigot and everything crazy like that. And this guy, Greg Stock, a guy out here in the comments, made a great point. He said, I actually know a Jewish guy from work here in California. This is a huge conservative now. He's from Maryland and was raised as a Democrat. He told me he used to be scared to death of Republicans growing up, and now he's Republican and very conservative. And I know a lot of conservatives who have some similar stories, including myself. And I think that's why it's so important. Yep, man, that's Brandon, of course, as well. And that's why I think it's so important to get the message out there about, our personal experiences and when it comes to the political spectrum, and just move forward from there. But that was the main thing I want to speak about on that subject, Brandon, is get your opinion on that. I'm going to kind of move on from there and kind of get, focus on the WalkAway movement and what you've been up to, everything with there. And like you said, I know you mentioned just a few minutes ago that you just hit the 2-year anniversary, and I watched the video you did. Great compilation video, by the way. I really enjoyed it. It was amazing.
Thank you. Mike Boss, a member of the WalkAway campaign, who's made some really beautiful, incredible short films and compilations and things for us, including a movie that we have on YouTube called The Great Awakening, Breaking the Chains of the Democratic Party. He created this 18-minute retrospective short film, and I agree with you. I thought it was just breathtaking and beautiful and stunning. I can say that because I didn't make it, but but he did. Yeah, he did a really incredible job. And it's weird. Most people who know me know that I'm kind of like a work addict. I love to work. I love to be active. I love to always be doing about 17 things at the same time. But I mean, even when I watched that, I was exhausted. I was like, wow, I can't believe I did all that. I like, sometimes you're just doing stuff and you're not even really aware you're doing it. And then it's like, you look back and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I did all that, but it was pretty cool.
No, I totally understand. I was amazed too watching it myself. I was like, man, Brandon's been all around the country this past few years, man. Cause he's been all over the place, man. I thought I was busy, but he makes me, look like a stay-at-home, the stay-at-home person, go anywhere, man, because he's just, really busting his butt.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, let me ask you this. I see that, there's the Reopen America movement going on across the country right now. And I've been involved in it myself. I've been at a couple of rallies, one in PA, one here in New York, for Reopen New York, Reopen PA. And shout out to all my patriots out there who are involved. And it's been a real powerful movement, and a lot of patriots have been coming out, showing up, and really getting their voices heard. And I see that you've been going to quite a few events yourself and making some very powerful speeches. And I just want to see what your stance is on the whole Reopen America movement and what the future holds when it comes to that.
Oh yeah, I am absolutely team Reopen America, and I'm not thoughtless about it. I'm not reckless about it. I'm not impulsive or stupid about it. Excuse me. I think that we do have to do it carefully. I think we have to be thoughtful in the way that we do it, but we should not ever politicize or be opportunistic about something that is a tragedy like is happening right now. And unfortunately, I feel that we're seeing that a lot with governors and politicians on the left side of the aisle who are, I think, using this as an opportunity to try to do damage to Donald Trump and the upcoming election, and to try to seize and attain more power, again, as we come up to the election in November. And that would be bad enough no matter what the situation was. But we've never seen anything like this before, Chris. I mean, last week alone, I talked to 4 different people who told me that someone in their lives or that they knew had committed suicide. 4
What?
last week. And
Wow.
one person said,
Oh
just
my
straight
goodness.
up, he said, my business partner, her 37-year-old son committed suicide because he lost everything. And he said, he can't take care of his family. Now, I can't really fathom, committing suicide and leaving a family behind. But again, I guess I do understand the depression that people are being financially devastated. People are losing their dreams. They're losing their life savings. They're losing everything in a way that I think a lot of people recognize they will never recover. It's not, for some people, the economy will bounce back and people will spring back, and it might take a little time. But there are absolutely a good number of people who will never recover from this. And every day that passes, more and more people will end up in that boat. So that's why I say, as President Trump has said so eloquently many times, the cure cannot be worse than the disease itself. Let's get this show on the road. We followed the protocol, we followed the rules, we flattened the curve, we've done what we were supposed to do. Let's get people the hell back to work, because every passing day, the addiction rate goes up, the depression rate goes up, the suicide rate goes up, the bankruptcy rate goes up.
The
There's a lot.
abuse rate. There's abuse rate from really, I
Oh,
heard, oh man.
domestic violence, child abuse, child neglect, kids who the only meals that they were getting every day was at school are not getting fed. Yeah, there's a
Wow.
lot going on here. Besides, and this is a disease that 99.5 to 99.75% of people recover from.
Yeah.
So let's get this show on the road.
No, I absolutely agree. And the Melody mentioned obesity is going up as well. People are dealing with weight issues because it's being at home. And I know people as well who have dealing with, struggling with alcohol abuse and everything else, man. It's just really, people don't realize when you're in that mode, that work mode, how important it is to, when you have that rhythm, to keep the rhythm going. Is when the rhythm stops is one thing. For maybe temporary, a couple of weeks, you find another job. Now you're back in the swing of things again. But for it to stop out of nowhere to a point where it's like there's no light at the end of the tunnel, it seems like sometimes that can
Yeah.
get you in a mentality where it's like, what else is there to live for? We're never going to come back again. So why even be here? So that's
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry to hear about your friends that committed suicide. That's very, very unfortunate. I mean, maybe not direct friends, but people that that had friends. But either way,
Yeah,
that's very.
that happened in their lives. Yeah, and I think it's always devastating to hear. It's always sad enough to hear that somebody has made a tragic decision to end their lives, but when we're hearing about it happening on an almost massive level because of something like this that we're all experiencing in some way or form, it just really brings it home that it's, we're all affected by this in some way. And I'm going to count myself as one of the lucky ones because I didn't have much to begin with. So
Same here. I agree with you on that one.
it's not going to
Not
have
gonna
a catastrophic effect on my, yeah, yeah, exactly. It's not going to have a catastrophic effect on my life, but the way that it has affected me, I think negatively, is that I'm somebody who is prone to depression. I have to make a conscious effort to fight that. And, and I feel it every winter. I get, I have pretty severe seasonal depression. And so, just getting through the winter months is a struggle for me because I get in some very dark places, but I have to kind of say, get it together. This is just depression, fight through it. It's going to go away. It's going to pass. But I've gotten very depressed during this shutdown because I'm an extrovert. I'm not a person who does well, being cooped up inside, not being around other people. I love being around people. I love working. I love being active. So I can only imagine imagine somebody who has really faced something devastating because of this, and probably already has some mental health or depression issues to begin with, make choices right now.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Chris, are you able to
yeah,
hear
I can hear
me?
you. We broke it up a little bit on the last statement, but no, I agree. I get the gist of what you said. Was it's very true. It's very true. It's like a lot of people with depression issues are really struggling with what's going on right now. Like I said, I'm more of an extrovert myself as well. I could be introvert, but like I said, every winter I get those similar feelings where it's just like, oh my goodness, because it's getting darker earlier, it's cold, you're cooped up more than usual, and this, but I think just naturally just kind of occurs where you're down in the dust, and when things start, weather improves and things get better, you start going outside more, people are outside hanging out more. It just internally makes you feel better being around that kind of environment. And I just feel like, just added on top of that, with this occurring, this is kind of putting people back in that winter mode again, even though the weather is beautiful, it's getting at this moment right now. And it's just unfortunate that people can't really enjoy it like they should.
For sure.
Okay, but let's go move on to the next question, Brandon. I want to ask you about the unsilent movement that you have going on. I know you reached out to me about that whole situation with that, and you asked me to do a little clip so you can do like a compilation video with Colonel Allen West. Real quick, by the way, shout out to Colonel Allen West, great patriot. Unfortunately, he got in an accident, a motorcycle accident recently, had some serious injuries, but he's still he's alive. Nothing, nothing too bad when it comes to that department, but he did get hurt pretty bad. But but other than that, the movement, I was curious, what is exactly an unsilent movement, and where do you plan on going with the movement?
Right. So the video can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Good. The video that you're referring to was essentially a launch video where I had you and I think we had like 38 conservative influencers who looked at the camera and said the word unsilent. And it's a really cool video for anyone who hasn't seen it. It's just, we've got like, Roseanne Barr, Christy Swanson, Dean Cain, Milo Yiannopoulos, Dana Lash, Lord, a whole, like anyone you can think of. And saying the word unsilent. And so we did this so that we could put it out, so that we could announce what we are calling the Unsilent Majority March on Washington. Because what I'm really trying to encourage with WalkAway, in addition to people leaving the left, which is our primary goal, is people who don't identify with being on the left, whether they walked away or whether they were always, in the middle or on the right or on the far right or whatever, to stop being a part of what we call the silent majority, and to start speaking up, pushing back, fighting back, because the liberal left has controlled everything for so long, from Hollywood to entertainment to academia to the news media to the education system. Well, that's academia, but I mean, it's their fingerprint and their footprint is everywhere, and that's because those who are not on the progressive liberal left have been so silent for so long, and sort of allowed them to seize control of just about everything. And so I'm asking the silent majority to become unsilent, and we are throwing this event on October 3rd in Washington, D.C., to bring together patriots, whether they walked away, whether they were always on the right, whether they're in the middle, to come together to stand and fight for the heart and soul of America, and say that 1 month from October 3rd on election day, we're all going to come together, we're going to fight, and we're going to vote, and we're going to bring power to that vote, and we are going to save the heart and soul of America from a leftist takeover, because this is really, I think, the most crucial, important election of our lifetimes, and we have to be unsilent for the rest of this year and going forward.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. And I'm glad to hear that you're having a march on Washington right before the elections on October 3rd. For those listening, just get quick heads up, because we need to get our voices heard. We need to show the rest of the world there's a lot of patriots out here that are willing to fight and get their voices heard, even if the mainstream media won't give us any time a day. We
That's
still are not silent. You know, we're, like I said, we're just silent, like the silent majority. I mean, unsilent majority. And, you know, we're not going to sit back and just let the mainstream media determine to the rest of the world where America stands when it comes to politics. So, you know, I really appreciate you reaching out to me so I can, you know, send you a video, a clip from me doing it. I was glad to be a part of such a powerful compilation video. And I recommend anybody out there, please go on YouTube and look at WalkAway Unsilent movement or Unsilent Majority, or, you know, if you put those kind of words in, you'll see the video pop up. It's a very powerful video. I recommend checking it out.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, no problem at all. And this is a question I wanted to ask you on a personal level, because when I saw it, I was like, oh man, next time I see Brandon, I got to ask him about this.
Okay.
I saw you got to meet the President of the United States.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Cool. How was that? How was that whole situation? I mean, that looked like an awesome moment right there in American history right there. I just wanted to say, tap your brain a little bit.
It was an awesome moment. And, you know, it was in December of last year. I met him at Mar-a-Lago, and I was at a dinner. He was at the dinner, and at the end of it, I had the opportunity to go and talk to him, shake his hand, and take some pictures with him. And it was just so surreal because he was really funny and jovial, and I mean, he knew right away who I was, what WalkAway was, and he leaned into me as we were shaking hands, and he said, "How do you like those retweets?" And I said, "I love those retweets."
No, Trump is the man.
Yeah, and then the most surreal moment was after we kind of did 2 rounds of taking pictures, but after the first round of taking pictures, he kind of took me around to some of the tables that were people that were there eating dinner. And he said, "Do you know who this guy is? He's getting people to walk away from the Democratic Party. It's tremendous. It's amazing what he's doing. He's getting them all to walk away. It's really," and I was just like, I swear I had an out-of-body experience. I was like, is this really happening? This is incredible. It was amazing. It was like,
wow.
Walk away. It's tremendous. It's really something. Yeah.
Not a bad Trump impersonation there.
Thank you.
Definitely. You know, he seems like he's very down to earth. He's just, you know, like a you know, I hate to hear the term, because you hear so many times in politics, but there's a guy you can sit down and have a beer with. But he just seems like that kind of personality where he could sit down and have a good conversation with them, and he could just flow, man. Like, he's just a real, genuine person. And I got that vibe from him even in the 2016 elections. And now, you know, as time has gone by and I saw how he's governed, and I saw he's handled, you know, different relationships with different people, and, you know, seeing how you got to meet him and everything like that, it kind of just further confirmation that, you know, he's the president I thought I was voting for, the man I thought I was voting for. And I'm glad you got a chance to meet him, and he really, you know, got to introduce you to a lot of people that gets there, because, you know, what you've done is amazing, and I'm glad he appreciates it.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank
now,
you.
The last question I wanted to ask you, Brandon, and, you know, this is important, I feel, and, you know, I'm sure it's very important to you as well, is where is the future of WalkAway that you feel like? Where do you see WalkAway going in the next couple of years, and, you know, maybe beyond? But what's your next steps when it comes to WalkAway?
Well, the biggest thing on my plate right now, which is a priority of the utmost importance to me, is that we get a really solid activism program off the ground. And a part of that activism is making sure that we're really, really connecting with and providing a place to go, a haven of sorts for younger people, like college-age kids. I want to see WalkAway chapters in college campuses. I want to make sure we're doing more of a WalkAway and even expanded WalkAway college campus tour, which we did last year. We went to a lot of colleges last year, and we were slated to go to a lot of colleges this year, but that, of course, has been put off for the time being. But I want to make sure that for people from 18 years old or maybe even younger, clear up to people who are 65, 75, 85, however years old, that we have plenty of activism for these people, whether it be door knocking, voter registration, writing letters to editors of their newspaper, telling them about WalkAway, building out those local chapters so that they can get together and do meet and greets and pull more people into this movement, that, and let more people know about WalkAway and what we're doing. And again, that we're reaching more and more young adults and young people. That is where I see the future of WalkAway right now, is to make sure we already, the first year of WalkAway, which was really 6 months back, we launched in May of 2018. So I would say that May of 2018 through December of 2018, that first year, was the year of WalkAway being a social media movement, that we existed on social media, providing a platform for people to tell their stories and come together. And then 2019 was the year that WalkAway became about on the road, boots on the ground, education, traveling around, doing those live town halls, those college campus engagements, really engaging with people live at our rallies, our events. But I want 2020 and 2021 to be the year that we really have a presence state to state, and an activism program where people are getting out into their communities and making a difference, and that is what WalkAway really becomes about.
Well, yeah, boots on the ground. That's where it's at. That's how you really do grassroots campaigning. That's how you really get out there and get the message heard. And like I said, I've been watching you from day one almost, and I saw the steps and the progressions that you made with the WalkAway movement. And you really, this is, I mean, I'm a person that's always been a fan of revolutionaries, who, especially the ones who are doing it on a proper political stance. Like, I'm a big historian, and that's why I was big on making my voice heard, even when it was just 140 people on my Facebook page. I was speaking because I knew the importance of it. So, now that you gave me the opportunity to get my voice heard to a larger amount of people, and I'm seeing what you're doing every month, you're doing more and more and more with the movement. And I just like, wow, I'm just glad to be a part of this, man, because this is going to change America in the near future. And Gen Z coming up now, a lot of them, have conservative mentalities, and they get the information from the internet and not the mainstream media. And they're coming to sources like you and myself to get their info. So, this is definitely something very powerful in this country, and I think it's really going to affect us in a positive way. Melody Cruz, she mentioned, she just came up again and she just said, please come to Flagstaff, Arizona, NAU. These kids have been misguided. I will have 2 sons there in August.
Will do. I was actually in Arizona several times last year, and I believe I went to Arizona State. It's a little confusing because I think there's an Arizona State and an Arizona State University. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure which one I was at. but I did
the one where you got somebody like attacked you verbally. I forgot what it was like. There's a guy standing with like a Trump sign or something like that, and somebody ripped it out of his hands, and were threatening him, and they were yelling at him. I was like, what in the world? I know it was in Arizona, I believe.
No, that was in Chico, California.
Oh, I was in California. Yeah, California.
That was bad. That was the worst pushback we got at a college. Yeah, we were protested by 40, 50 protesters. It was pretty massive. And they were violent and aggressive, and yeah, it was nasty. It was nasty.
Yeah, it was insane watching that, man. It was really hectic, and I'm glad you didn't get hurt or anything like that, or hopefully nobody you were with got hurt either. No. But when I saw that, man, I was like, what the heck is this? And like I said, it slipped my mind. I saw Arizona, Arizona was on my mind, but when you said California, I remember, it was California, because I said, where in America where people act like that, and that radicalized from somebody just trying to come on campus and talk about a movement they have, like. And then when I saw it was California, I was like, oh well, yeah, there you go. Because I remember in 2016 how hectic it was in California when the Trump election, man. They were just rioting every day in California there.
Yeah. No, it was extreme for sure.
Definitely. But you're doing amazing things, Brandon. And the WalkAway movement, everybody, I'm 100% behind you. Any way I can help out what you're doing and help you build your coalition, just let me know. I got your back, brother. And I just want to thank you again so much for coming out and taking time out of your day, because I know you've been busy, man. You're running around all over the place. I see you're somewhere new every time I I see you posted a new video. So I'm glad you took the time out to speak with me. I really appreciate you, man.
Oh yeah, well, I love you, Chris, and my team loves you, and you've done some walkaway events with us, and we definitely would love to have you back again and again to do more and work with us, because I think you're a strong voice, and you're always a delight and a pleasure to work with, which is very important. I always say I would rather work with somebody who's maybe not as high profile, but is a pleasure to work with, than anybody who's like a top A-lister and a huge pain in the ass. And believe me, I dealt with that too.
Wow, I really appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I do.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you're welcome anytime.
All right, all right. Well, you will see me in the future for sure, and I'm looking forward to when we get past this whole quarantine situation, and we start getting out there and hitting the streets again. And a guy, are you planning on going to Rochester, New York, by any chance? Somebody just asked me that. Just throw that out there real quick.
No plans, but I'm, never say never.
Okay, all right, excellent. Well, all right, Brennan. Well, again, man, thank you, brother, so much, and God bless you, man. And I hope only the best for the walkaway movement.
Thanks, Chris. You too.
All right, man. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
All right. Bye bye.